Annectens, connecting professionals.
So let's do a recap what we learned, yesterday, and then we will start doing the agent stack. Okay, we'll talk about more about how the devices, how devices communicate with Intune, what sort of agents which are involved in between, right? So everything we'll be talking about more into depth. All right, so I hope screen is visible to all, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so would you like to go together? You want to go one to one? How is it like? Let's assess your knowledge. Okay, which Azure service acts as a global entry point for all Intune traffic, providing any cast routing to the nearest Azure point of presence POP. Okay, which one is the first one which acts as a gateway services or entry point? So you guys can guess or you can give confidently. Yeah. Which one? Front door.
Front door.
Okay. Everyone is on same page. Front door.
I assumed as API management, Azure API management.
Oh, who's this?
Srinivas, yeah.
Srinivas. Okay. So how many of you are with Azure front door? B option. Should I choose B? This will be part of your today's class. So I'll add this file in your video format. So whenever you're going to see the recordings over the website, you can also download this and you can do the practice at your own. Okay, right now I'll go with Azure front door. Okay, let's check the answer. Is it correct? So Azure front door, I think yesterday I talked about much. The first umbrella on top of everything, all the services. The first thing that comes here, that is called Azure front door. Okay, so as mentioned yesterday, like *manage.microsoft.com, this is the one which needs to be resolvable, right, over your DNS. So first service, or on the top of the service, I would say like this is the first umbrella. Okay, this is where Azure front door sits, I think. Okay, and then rest of the services are lying down here. Okay, like that. And then there is another services which is running like that. Okay, so this was Azure front door, which runs as an entry gateway. Okay, that is the first question. Second question is, when an administrators click on wipe command, what happens? Okay, from the Intune admin center, you're going and clicking on wipe command. So how does Azure service holds that command within it, and which policy engine actually interacts and passes this in the process? So give me answers. I think I explained yesterday.
It's Azure Cosmos DB, which holds the temporary state.
No, no. Understand the question. Which policy engine we are talking about? Process it. We're not talking about where it gets and sits the information. Which policy engine is actually involved to processing this command? Okay, I can't see others, but please unmute.
Before the question is before the actual policy engine process it. Weber?
Sorry.
The question is, what Azure service temporarily hold the wipe command, right?
That's what the question is.
Azure service.
Azure service. Azure service bus. Okay. And Srinivas says Cosmos DB. Okay. So let's go with Cosmos DB. Check the answer. Okay. That's why I said before the Intune policy engine process it, where does it gets hold? Because service bus is responsible to do the asynchronization messaging. Okay, it is the one which translates your message to the queue, and then it forwards from your UI, whatever you are doing from UI you are processing, whatever request you are doing, retire, wipe, whatever you're doing, that gets asynchronously processed. And that is where Azure Service Bus, I think we talked yesterday about it, Azure Service Bus, which acts as a communication channel, or through which all the services or the commands gets into the queue and then processes over, leading to the devices wherever you are going to. So that's why whenever you are doing any command, whenever you are exporting anything, it takes time. Sometimes you don't see anything in the notification, but it takes time, and then it processes it in the background. So Azure Service Bus acts as a message queue for all Intune commands. So whatever you are doing, this is an interview question also. If you are appending, like someone asked, like when you wiping a device, what happens in the background? So first thing, Azure Service Bus, which holds that command information, that message in the queue, then it's synchronized, and then it passes to next services, and then at last it reaches out to the devices. Okay. Next question is, which Azure database service store real-time Intune device states, including last check-in date, compliance status, everything? So which one actually acts here? I think this is where Srinivas, you can comment on.
I think this is Azure Cosmos DB.
Okay. Anyone else have a different thought?
Table storage.
Okay. Who is it?
Arul.
Okay. Did we talk about yesterday table storage? Okay, let's check the answer.
Database service.
Okay, so we didn't talk about Azure Table Storage yesterday because Azure Table Storage is nowhere in this. If there is anything that is called blob, okay, or CDN or SQL database, right? So Cosmos DB is actually responsible to save all your device state. Okay, everything, whatever you are distributing, whatever data that is being read on the device, that gets stored in Cosmos DB. Okay, so if you go to Intune Admin Center, and from there if you look at device, you fetch the device compliance, so that real time the data gets in, it replicates the data, fetches the information about that device, whatever the policy that is there on that, what is the exact device state, okay, available, that gets stored in Cosmos DB. And Azure SQL database, talks about more whatever policy you are creating, whatever group assignment or whatever application stuff you're doing, all that gets stored in your SQL database. Okay, so Cosmos DB usually handles high throughput. Okay, in terms of when you're doing the device state, request, or when you're doing any information you're fetching from the device, that gets stored into Cosmos DB, right? Okay, we already covered this yesterday. Which protocol Intune uses to communicate MDM policies to Windows 10 devices?
HTTPS.
OMA-DM over HTTPS.
Over HTTPS.
Okay, that's correct. So OMA-DM is an Open Mobile Device Alliance. This is this is a protocol which is already there on Windows devices. Okay, so we'll talk about it just now. Yesterday we just had a very small discussion about it, like we did not get in depth on that. Okay, an iOS device which is enrolled in Intune needs to receive a remote lock command. Okay, as an admin, I just want to send a remote lock command to that device. So what would be the correct sequence of communication? How does it forward the information? Yesterday we already discussed this. Which
Apple,
option?
Intune Apple push notifications. It's a IO device.
Right. So for iOS or for Apple devices, every communication will be channelized through Apple push notification services only. Without that, I think we already discussed, without that, there is no communication going to happen. Okay. So this is where you see Apple push notification is responsible. This is api.push.apple.com. This runs on 443, which is HTTPS port number. Okay. And then this forwards all your whatever commands that you have given, that it passes through MDM protocol. Okay. Next question is, which push notification service does Intune use to wake up to Android devices and Android enterprise devices to check in? Okay, we did not talk about much on this, but this is Firebase cloud messaging, okay, which is actually responsible for doing this. So Firebase cloud messaging is actually runs on Google Firebase. Okay, all those Android communication which you're doing or notification that you're coming, that comes with Firebase cloud messaging. So we're just going to cover it. Just yesterday I think I had given a glimpse of it, but did not cover much in depth. Now next question, 7th, is the Intune management extension is installed on Windows device. In which scenario does the IME agent gets triggered to install automatically? Any options? You can consider these as interview questions as well. I mean, it's very common.
When simple ADMX back configuration is deployed.
BitLocker policy.
BitLocker policy. Okay, what else? See, IME is like there is one DM client. Okay, DM client it is as good like you have L4, L3, L2, L1, L0, like that is the team. Okay, in that team I have L4. Okay, so L4 is actually occupied with something, but he want to deliver some project. Okay, and he want someone to share that, share the load. Okay, what he will do, he will share this to someone, okay, who's going to extend that help. So DM client is going to take help from IME. Okay, so it's going to take a help from IME. So IME stands as a, just think it like as a L3 resource, right? Intune is a L4 and DM client is a L4 and L3 resource is your Intune management extension. Now when we are talking about, we need to install something on the device, right? Before installing that something on the device, we require someone to approve it, right? And who's going to approve this? Since DM client is busy, right? So what he did, he extended that to Intune management extension. So Intune management extension, it is as good like you have a place, right? And in that place you require some gathering. You have some business functions maybe, and you require multiple people to arrange settings, to manage things, right? So what you'll do as a manager or as a owner or as a decorator, whatever you can call yourself, you will not be available at all the places at the, in the same time. So what you'll do, you will extend your support. You will give some tasks to someone, you'll give some tasks to someone, like so. Before event starts, that every arrangement will be a synchronized manner, right? So Intune management extension is one of that extended support, right? So I'll choose when a Windows 32 app or PowerShell script is being assigned to a device, Intune management extension gets installed automatically before, because IME agent is the one which is going to drive all this. Okay, so let's see, is it correct? Yes. So IME is, so we'll talk about it. Don't get nervous. This is as I talked about, like DM client is the one which actually built in, which takes care of everything, but it requires IME. Okay, because IME is extended support. So this is the extension, Intune management extension.exe. This is the one which is a service which runs on Windows, which takes care about all these deployments like Win32 application, MSI, PowerShell script, if you're doing any remediation, if you're running any compliance scripts, all these gets here. And path for this is this one. Okay, this is the path where you see Intune management extension log. This is the first log that you are responsible to check, identify. So there should be a one backslash here in Microsoft, then Intune management. So program data Microsoft, then Intune management extension. Okay, so okay, that was the question. Next question is coming. A large organization has 50,000 employees with E3 license. Their Indian M365 tenant was created in 2022. where is their Intune device management data stored at rest? Okay, so since it's been long time, it's an old tenant, right? And we have 50,000 devices, so we want to know it's in India, right? We talked about Indian M365 tenant, right? So it is actually asking where is the device management data gets stored and in the REST API. Okay, which region should you choose from the listing?
If the tenant region is India, then it should be Central Pune, India tenant home.
Okay, everyone is on the same page.
Yes.
Okay, so that is correct. Why? Because yesterday we talked about it. I did you understand the logic behind all this? What is okay? Let me draw something for you. So I didn't launch my pen. Is it opened up? Yeah, here it is. Okay, so I'll just give you something. This is, I think yesterday we talked about it, data centers and all. So let's assume we talked about region yesterday. So region is what? Region is something, a location, right? Location. It could be anything. In our case, we are talking about India as a location, right? It could be India, it could be Europe, it could be London, whichever location is that, that is called as region. Okay, region is what is location is. Just understand like this. Okay, region is your location. What is the next is what is the data centers, right? So data centers are the one building which is filled up with the servers, right? Okay, data centers are a building which is filled of the servers. Now next question comes, now we understood about the region. So region is something, we talked about the location, right? It could be anything. So region we are just talking about here. Region we have here, it's in India, so it falls under India region, right? And data center is what? It's a one building which is have filled up with multiple servers, right? Now what is called availability zones, right? What is called availability zones? So this is a one data center, for example. Okay, now I have multiple buildings like this, which I call it as a data center. Okay, all these data centers are centrally managed. They are connected with high optic fiber, and all these are connected together. Okay, this term is what called availability zone. Okay, so here I would say I have availability zone of Pune. Okay, this Pune is actually have a multiple hub of data centers together. That is what called availability zones, right? So one or more than one servers, if they are connected in the same region or nearby two data centers, so those all comes together calls as availability zones, right? So we have availability zones for Pune, we have availability zones for Chennai, right? So we have these locations. Then we have something called edge location. Okay, edge location, if you might have heard about it. Edge location are the locations where you have your content delivery network, where you cache your all those files, contents and everything. That is what called edge location. So this is where the edge location is required, because if it's falling under these availability zones and if these edge locations are nearby, so it's easy to store the data, synchronize it and fetch the data within the milliseconds. You get your data in any at any point of time. So that is what called availability zones. So we understood region, which we talked about, like overall location, and availability zones is more than one data centers which are connected in same region, at the same availability zone, and then these are connected with one shot we call it as one location, that is called Pune and Chennai. And edge locations are the content delivery network where we cache or store the data. Okay, so this is where we talked about, like, we have a central Indian tenant, so we will have it centralized in Pune. That is our primary server, right? Primary data center. Okay. Next is, an organization wants to block all access to Microsoft 365 services from non-compliant devices. Intune compliance result must feed into which Microsoft service to enforce this block. Okay, very simple. Your organization is going to block access for Microsoft 365 services. It is as good. I have a Android phone 10, for example, 10 or 11, and currently in the market Android 15 or Android 16 is running, right? Or maybe I would say iOS 17 Pro is like most selling stuff. I'm still using in iPhone, the older version, like 16. I'm using like 15 or 14, something like that. And as per my organization, these devices are non-compliant, right? So these devices are non-compliant, so I won't be able to access any Outlook services, Teams, SharePoint, anything which is hosted or on this particular Microsoft 365 services. I won't be able to deal it because I have a non-compliant device, right? So how Intune will fetch the compliance data? How would it take it? And it will enforce a block for those devices which does not meet the compliance criteria. Okay, what are the options we have? We have options for Defender, we have Entra, we have Purview, we have Azure Firewall.
It'll be the second one, Vaibhav. Enter ID conditional access.
Okay.
Yeah, I also feel that.
Okay. So these are the questions for interviews as well. So think in that logical manner. Okay. Yeah. So conditional access
It has
is
to be
something.
conditional access.
Yes, absolutely. This would be conditional access. Why? Because we are enforcing something where we are setting up some requirement, right? That is where we are setting up a condition. Conditional access is where the conditions are set. If those conditions are met, then your access will be given. If the conditions are not met, it will not be given. It's very straightforward, right? And when you're setting when you're setting up, like, your device should be marked as compliant when these conditions are met, signing time and everything, when you're checking it up, when you're also checking up version of the device, OS version, if the pin is there, BitLocker is enabled, and all those stuff, then only you are going to grant Outlook, Teams, or SharePoint access to that particular device. Okay, so this is where we talked about zero trust yesterday. Zero trust endpoint security. This is where it works like this. Okay, this is an architecture section. Now, Microsoft Security Copilot is embedded in Intune Admin Center. Which licensing model is used to bill for Security Copilot? I think yesterday I had given this question, right? For the licensing, which license actually used for Security Copilot? Have anyone did any research?
SC security compute units, SCUs.
Okay, what about others? So please be interactive. This is
365
benefit of you, not for me, right? Which one?
365 E5 security.
Okay. Any other thought?
Yes, the fourth one.
Fourth one is fine. Okay. That's why I asked, did you research on that? Yesterday I've given this, right? So Copilot is actually part of a security compute unit model. Okay, so if you are purchasing any SCU from Microsoft, so they give you this SCUs, and they also bill as per your hourly usage, right? So yesterday we talked about this, but so one more thing is, it's already embedded with all your Intune suite if you're using. Additionally, so you can also opt additionally, and you can add Security Copilot, which is not absolutely included in E3 or E5 anything, but you need to separately purchase this, right? And this is an evaluation. If you're using it, it will be charged per hour. Okay, so per hours you need to pay. If you're not using, you'll not be paying anything for this. Okay. Next is, how does Microsoft Defender for Endpoint integrates with Intune to help enforcing zero trust access control? Any idea?
Might be B.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I would say that don't be sure, because I didn't talk about much on this. So okay, MD.
Logically, it seems B because
Right. Why? Because yesterday
defender
we
is related
talked-
to the risk score.
Exactly. Yesterday I talked about like MTD scores, right? So with your security parameters, your organizations are met or derived with certain scores, and they try to mitigate if the scores gets dips down. So this is the highly critical stuff. If in your organization the scores is really high and the devices are absolutely uh, pathetic situation, then you will be at toss. You need to be need to fix this as soon as possible. Okay, so MD's this score is sent to Intune, and then it feeds to compliance policy, and then it blocks like that. So that is correct. Why? Because this is through the connector all the information gets in, and when you're setting up any device configuration policy, you integrate that. So your MD sensors it keeps running on your device that sends the real-time telemetry data, and once it sends to that data to with a score level like medium, high, and low. So accordingly, the Intune decides what to do with these devices. If that having a very high score, which means that risk is really high, you need to evaluate and you need to fix that problem as soon as possible. It could be that your device is compromised by a ransomware as well. Okay, next is a cybersecurity team needs to investigate whether a specific Intune device policy was modified by a junior administrator without authorization last Tuesday. So how would you go and check it? Okay, yesterday I think we talked about this as well. Where would you like to go and check?
The audit logs. C.
Okay.
Azure Log Analytics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's correct. So for all those diagnostic or anything that you want, now we have multi-admin approvals as well. So if you making any changes with anything, okay, which is not permitted, maybe if you're setting up any package, you just want to deploy it, or you are changing any configuration profile, or you're setting up any group or anything that you're just trying to do an update, which is existing, or you're just trying to create a new thing, then you can also approve it from multi-admin approval and from the log of course. If you go to tenant administration and audit logs, so you can see all the recorded actions, whatever changes that you have done, when, which IP, which person actually did that, all the information that goes here, through which you can you can also go and export the data and get to see who is actually doing what, and all these events are captured here. Okay, so this is from the cybersecurity standpoint. Then what is the correct description of active multi-region? Okay, I didn't talk about much on this, but just let me know what is the guess. When you're setting up Intune for multi-region, what things that comes like active multi-region? Okay, I'll just take a guess.
All regions serve production traffic simultaneously. This one. B. Failover is automatic.
Okay, let's check the answer. That is correct. Why? Because Intune or Azure talks about 99% of SLA uptime, right? So what it does actually, it creates multiple copies of your data, and it ensures that the live traffic is monitored accordingly. So wherever you are in your whichever region you are falling in, and your data will first flow to your primary region, but at some point, if it detects that you are somewhere at other location which is absolutely healthy and having a good traffic, then your data will automatically synchronize with it, and you can see that in your, so you don't see any delay or any latency in your Intune flow, because it does not matter which server it is, it automatically sets its traffic, depends upon the nearest region or nearest data center you are, or availability zones you are, it automatically translate that data to it. So you will never feel any latency or any downtime for that. It's the uptime SLA for from Azure side is 99.99% So that was the one thing. Okay, when where are Win32 application packages stored and how are they delivered to the device? Okay, so where does it goes and sits? We already talked about the CDN earlier, right?
It's the second one, blob storage.
Okay, so whatever contents we are going to store, that is going to sit in Azure Blob storage. Okay, it's already in encrypted format, and in Blob storage, whatever packages or contents you are going to set, that gets into that CDN and edge locations, right? So whenever you are going to download these on the devices, it's not like one time you're going to download it. You have multiple users, right? Multiple devices, multiple times those data is getting accessed and fetched from those locations. So very good thing is here we have delivery optimization stuff. Okay, delivery optimizations, it's that mechanism through which devices on the same network or same LAN, it gets the downloads into the one cache, one particular downloaded devices which is near to your LAN or in the subnet, and then it peers to peers transfer. Like if you are coming from SCCM, then we have a peer to peer cache there. Like you have a one device, right? Let me draw that will be easier to understand. So for example, I have this one device, right? On this device, this content stored, okay, here. Now I have on the same network or subnet, I have multiple devices connected, right? So what it will do, it will automatically distribute all this to all the peers. Okay, so this is called peer to peer. So this is because of delivery optimization. So every time each device will not go and download it from the cloud. Okay, it's better to have it stored on one device using the delivery optimization. Then it transfer all this to all the connected machines nearby to your network or subnet. Okay, so that's way you can save the bandwidth and also the consumptions, and it's very good for the large organization. Of course, now everyone is started using this. I mean, it's part of now Intune, so it's not individually that you need to go and configure like in SCCM, right? All right, so that was peer-to-peer cache. Okay, now peer-to-peer transfer, right? Now a network admin just reporting that after enabling SSL inspection, they're on corporate proxy, they find there are some Windows devices which stopped receiving Intune policies and they started failing to enroll. What could be the root cause? Okay, so we're talking about SSL inspection. They're doing it means something that has changed in SSL, right? So how would you know that where is the problem? This is an interview question as well.
Might be B.
Okay, anyone else?
I think it's third one. Request MDM.
Okay, so it's SSL we talked about, right? OMADM is part of your Windows devices, but something is blocking. Why? Because something has changed from the SSL side. Okay, just think it in this way. On this particular device, okay, we have a keyboards, right? So this keyboard is a part of your device. Okay, it's not getting changed, right? But if I say there is a wiring, right? And I just disconnected this wire, okay, from this laptop. Okay, somehow I just disconnected it. So I can't say that, okay, this keyboard is faulty. Okay, before that, because I did change here in SSL, we talked about like we changed something at the port level. So we need to fix that port level thing first before we claim or before we condemn our keyboard, right? The same thing is happening here when you're talking about OMA, okay, which is Open Alliance for DM. So it is like as we are talking about the keyboard, right? But keyboard is not responsible because keyboard is not plugged in rightly. So SSL is something which we talked about, like so these questions are very tricky whenever you are going for interviews. They will ask you certain tricky questions which may confuse you, right? I mean, since this is MCQ, we have options there, but in interviews we don't have any options. We need to frame answers accordingly. So When we talk about SSL, so SSL is actually something which we changed from from as a network side, right? So we need to figure out something what has changed that has stopped enrollment for the devices, and Intune, how does the Intune affected out of it, right? So because Intune is using a certificate pinning and certificate authentication, so when you're changing anything in SSL may intercept or may break things, so your internet or your Intune will not get authentication because of that certificate there on the client, right? So SSL needs to be corrected first before we go and claim for these Intune enrollment. So that is the first thing. It's very tricky, but keep a note of it.
We have one question here. So question states that some Windows device stopped receiving Intune policies. So in general, same kind of certificates, etc., are present on most of the corporate devices.
Okay, let's.
So why some devices, having issue and some do not have?
Yeah.
The option C clearly says option C we can remove, because if a particular port itself is blocked, so all the devices should not be able to communicate. It should not be some devices communicate, some not. But why in this particular case?
I'm giving you answer. Till 30th June, okay, till 30th June 2026, all the enrollments, were happening fine, right? Why? Because mid of the night, there were no SSL changed, right? After midnight, okay, here, there is SSL changed, executed, right? Now, 1st July, we received a P1 ticket, okay? P1 ticket in the morning stating some of Windows devices unable to enroll. Can you please investigate the problem? And this ticket, P1 ticket, is routed to the network team. Why? Because we have a change number and we got confirmation from problem management team that there is a change that is executed at midnight for this. Is this answering your question?
Yes. So basically, what we can infer is that maybe some devices received the updated certificates and some devices did not. So those devices which do not receive, they have the problem.
Correct. Okay. So that was the issue here. Now, next question is coming. An organization wants macOS device managed by Jamf Pro to benefit from Entra conditional access requiring compliant devices. How is this achieved? Okay, so Jamf, I have not, touched upon it, or we're not gonna, because Jamf is not part of this course. We are separately talking about more on the Intune side. Now, this says some, organizations, they do afford to manage Mac or Apple devices. They have Jamf Pro, which is dedicatedly used for Apple services, right? So they're saying now Jamf Pro wants to take benefit out of Entra, okay, so that they can execute some conditional access on certain devices. Now they want to understand how we can achieve it, and this is coming from the Jamf side. Like Jamf is trying to see how we can leverage and tune Entra Connect conditional access, right? What is your thought? Which option should be the right one? Okay. All on the same page? Good to lock it? Okay, let's check. So that's correct. Why? Because Jamf is a third party, it's not a Microsoft product, of course. So when we're trying to integrate something with Intune, we require a partner here. So with that partner, what we will do, Jamf, we will assign some compliance rules, and Jamf is going to use the compliance partner API. Okay, that is also a third party MDM compliance source, right? Using that, you can connect to Entra, okay, and then you can fetch those device attributes, look at the conditional access, and look at whatever the conditions which are given by or which are set by conditional access or by the Entra itself, right? Those conditions are going to be vetted on the Mac OS as well, and then Mac OS is going to confirm whether that conditional access is meeting or not. Like for example, Mac OS Sonoma, if you're using, okay, which is 14 version, right? 14 is not, absolutely we are not using it right now. We are now at 17. Okay. So what we will do here, we will try, let me see, I think the latest version is I what I understand is Sequoia. I think Sequoia is the latest version right now. So if you are using an older version, right, and if you're still going to use, and if those are not marked as non-compliant, means your conditional access is not working fine, then those devices someone can try, because those devices are old, those device does not have the latest patches, and they are already, you know, as per your organization, what do you want to set? N-1, always a level, right? Whatever is the latest, -1 you should consider, right? If I say Apple is released iPhone 17 Pro, then I will consider 15, 16 devices are, you know, those are the relevant devices which can be compliant, but I will not go beyond that, you know, below that limit. I will not set any device for 11, 12, 13, whatever. I will not go and set that. So likewise, we have something here called device compliance partner, which works like that, but we are not talking about Jamfro here. It's a very tricky question, but this is just give you a heads up. This was an interview question as well. So how would you take it up if something, you know, comes in? But we have if you're going in organizations, there would be some Jamfro expert who's going to set this up, so you don't need to worry about it, right? Next question, 3 more questions. So what is the purpose of delivery optimization in the Intune managed environment, and which port must be allowed for the LAN? I think we just talked about it. So it's a delivery optimization. What does it do? It do the peer-to-peer synchronization, right? Which one is the right content delivery port?
Second one.
Confirmed?
Peer-to-peer.
Fine. I'll just go and lock this. So that is correct. Delivery optimization, we already talked about, is peer-to-peer content sharing on the devices on the same LAN and same subnet, right? This is especially for Windows Update or Win32 applications when you're doing it. So 78680 is a port number for this share, right? Delivery optimization, and this is a Windows built-in technology, right? You don't need to install anything like on the server or something. It is as good like if you're using SCCM, if you have used peer-to-peer cache. So here that is a feature of a server, right? It's not something that you're going to, or it's a feature of a machine itself. You're just going to leverage that. You're not doing anything extra on top of it, right? So that was the one thing, right? Next goes in the Intune product family architecture. What is the fundamental difference between a Windows Auto Patch and Windows Update for business policies? Okay, we didn't cover this one, so just give me a guess. So difference is only Auto Patch is something which is automatic. Windows Update for business that you setting up for your devices or your clients or your users, you know, manually. So that is only the difference. Fundamental
WS
difference.
is second one.
Okay. Anyone else before I lock?
Third one, Vaibhav.
Who is it?
Srinivas.
Srinivas. So third one is actually right. Why? Because Windows Update for Business, as an IT admin, I just said that creates it manually, and auto patch is something which automatically, you know, manages all the ring assignments. So deploy, schedule, everything, you can set it up, and you can keep on getting the alerts for these auto patches, right? So that is what where Windows Auto Update for Business, we have in full control. Auto patch is something that is like an autopilot, okay, which is just set. It keeps on rolling and running everything, all those managed services. You don't need to do anything on top of it. So Windows Update or Windows Auto Patch is part of Intune plan and in suite as well. And Windows Update for Business is, I think, this is part of all Intune programs. So it's a default, and we are just going to leverage it and get this downloads. So on your local machines or your home computer, if you have ever used Windows Auto Patch, so it directly goes and connects to Microsoft Catalog servers and downloads it. Earlier we used to have WSUS. We also used to have SCCM, through which we used to segregate the patches, allow, disallow, and all, and then figure it out. We have a third-party applications to patch it or not. All this. So we are not going much in deep because we are more focused on Intunes. We will be talking about Windows Update for Business and Windows Patch, how to set it up. Okay. Second last question is, a Cisco ISE network access control system is configured to check Intune device compliance before granting Wi-Fi access. Okay, so a user's laptop is compliant in Intune, but ISE keeps denying Wi-Fi access, which is the following most likely cause. Okay, what could be the cause of denial here? Okay, maybe just take a guess.
I believe it's second. Intune net partner.
Okay, everyone on the same page? Or you want to change anything? All right, let's log this. Let's see. So that's correct answer actually. So Cisco, I mean, we're not going to talk about it, but in the network side, there will always be a person from the network, architect or network engineer who's going to discuss all this with you. But you are not, as an Intune administrator, it's not your responsibility to set all this. But as an architect or as a L4, you should be knowing how things works. Okay, so in Intune, you know that Intune runs on multiple services, right? And all these services, how we can leverage it? By using a connector, correct? So here we can have an Intune NAC connector, which in tenant administration, I think yesterday I showed it up. Tenant administration and connector. So you can see that okay, all the connectors which you're going to utilize, like for Apple, Google, or certificate authority, or anything that you're going to leverage, that is going to show up here in connector side. So if your tenant connector, if you go to tenant administration, connectors and token, and this is where you can see your network access control. This is where you can verify whether this services is connected or not, right? If that is not connected, which means, so you cannot troubleshoot anything from Cisco side, but since as an Intune admin, what you can do, you can first go to the connector and look at that. Also, you can go to connector and tokens and look at network access control. See whether that services are enabled or not, whether that connector which is installed on a particular server, whether that is active or not, whether the services are running fine or not. If that is not fine, then it's your responsibility to reinstall that connector or maybe run the services again and look at things at your level before you pass it to Aruba or Cisco to fix the problem from their side, right? So that is the second last question. Okay, last question I am coming with. An Intune connector, certificate connector is deployed on Windows Server, which is in DMZ zone. DMZ means decentralized or middleized zone, something where you don't have access to anything. Like you cannot have access to internet, you cannot have directly physical appearance. You need to be very, this is highly secure place where your server is kept, right? So to get inside, you need to be very cautious. You need to have multiple security, gateways to pass it through, and then you reach it out. So DMZ zone is something where your Windows server is lying. It's already there, and this Windows server is responsible to handle your SCEP certificates delivery, right? Now, from the security standpoint, someone has asked, like, what is the inbound firewall rule that is open for Intune certificate connector server? So from the internet. So what would be the correct answer here?
It will be the first one, Vaibhav.
Okay. Anyone else? We didn't talk about SCEP. We didn't talk about NDES because that is also part of it, but that is last when we are going to cover architect role or architect level. that point of time we are going to discuss this. Any other thought? Otherwise, I'll just lock it and let.
443 should be the port, but I'm not sure about TCP. It could be B or C. CP inbound, 18 bound. 18 should not be there. Could be B or C, as per me.
Okay. Anyone else?
Maybe if the connector is inside only, then connector can initiate the connection, and in that case, no port is required, because then the traffic will be part of the TCP, flow, traffic flow. That is the case. C is the answer. Otherwise, B will be the answer.
We talked about this in DMZ zone, right? So when it's setting up in DMZ zone, we do not require any port, right? Because it's very ring fenced. It's very tightened in security side. When we are going to set some DMZ servers, right? We are not opening any firewall, any port on that. Why? Because we have kept it in very secure zone. And if we are opening any ports, which means we are allowing some traffics to, come back and forth. That's why what we are doing here, we are setting up a connector which is going to initiate outbound HTTP connections. And HTTPS is very secure connections, right? And that is where it goes past the information and request for outbound persistent connection. So whenever you are, hearing this term called DMZ or secure zone, safe zone, or sets in the Titan security, always be very sure that there will not be any port involved into it. Okay, so that was the final answer and final question on that, and that is how we are going to assess your knowledge. Okay, for each section, like after 2 sessions, 3 sessions, we are going to conduct such evaluation where we understand your knowledge, understand your how far you are understanding the topics, and where I should indulge more, where I should more focus on clearing your doubts. Okay, so I understand that almost you guys are picking up well, and it's good to see that your knowledge quite good. I mean, we are good at 80%. We have passed a score, so that is the best thing. So this file will be included in your what I say in one more thing. Just let me come it out and let me open this Annectens. So for yesterday's course, I just wanted to give you something. This is where if you go, right, and if you go to day 2, right, so I have
Annectens, connecting
already
professional.
given you some sort of links and one Intune architecture MCQ. Okay, so this MCQ is the same which we had addressed just now. This is already part of it. You just click on it, download, and do the revisions. Likewise for every sessions we are going to have, or every second sessions we are going to have some MCQ questions which is going to assess your knowledge. Okay, all right, so we are good at this. Let's come to setting up the lab. Okay, so yesterday we talked about licensing. Sorry, sorry, my bad, I just missed it up. One more thing is just a second. I think I was going to talk about something today, right? I'm just missing it up. Okay, all right, I'll quickly share again. Sorry, my bad. Yes, so today we are going to talk about more in depth about the devices. I was so carried away with this particular MCQ. Okay, so I was just going to talk about the device communication architecture. Okay, what sort of elements which are involved, which going to connect you with your devices, right? So first thing we are going to talk about, okay, this is going to be in depth, but I'm not sure I'm getting much time on this today, but I'll be extending this class if you guys are comfortable, half an hour more, if that is okay, like 12:30 if we can. But before that, if you want to take a break for some time, please take it. It's been almost an hour now. If you want to take some break, let's take a break, then we'll start this fresh agent stack. We'll talk about how Windows 10 agents communicates to each other. Then we'll talking about how your iOS agents runs in the background on the device, and we'll talk about something Android. So are we good to take some break, or how is it? Maybe just 5 minutes, 10
Yeah,
minutes.
okay. Yeah.
All right.
The break.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, just yep, yeah, just we finish. So we will connect in 10 minutes back. All right.
Okay.
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 Thank you. Okay, guys, I'm back. Everyone is there?
Yes, Mega.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. This is gonna be very important session. Okay, this is gonna be very important, and this is going to set a foundation of yours. Okay, for Intune, this is going to foundation. Okay, you should not be skipping it up and be very focused. Whatever I'm going to tell you, this is like no one is going to talk about it in depth for Intune. Okay, that's why Annectens is different, because we go more in depth. Why? Because we think you today you are zero, right? But in future you are going to become 100. So today if you are like a just engineer, right, you're going to become as an architect, or you're going to become as a director, or you're going to become as a CTO, right? So think in that logic. Whatever you're going to learn, you should be learning it fully, more in depth, so that whenever you are coaching, for example, right here, maybe you become as a lead, okay, or you become someone, a senior architect, or become a principal consultant, something like that, whatever. I would say just become a consultant here. So you should know what my team is doing and where they can get into the trouble, and how I can help them to fix the problem, right? So it's very important session. It's going to be very deep. So first thing we're going to talk about, this is agent stack. Okay, agent stack means how the device work in the background. I'm going in depth for each devices. Okay, now we're going to talk about Windows 10 or 11. Okay, some of the clients are still using Windows 10. They have their ESUs, right, extended support from Microsoft, right? So they are using it. Now we are talking about something which is in built-in operating system, okay, and something which is installed on demand. So all this, how the orchestration works, how Microsoft Intune takes it from Azure clouds, and how things are moving. Okay, so now this is, we are talking about full agent stack here. Windows 10 or 11, right? How does Intune manages it? So think it like this is your Intune, right? This is your Intune, right? Here Intune is going to talk to Windows 10 or 11 devices, right? Windows 10 or 11 devices. Now how Windows 10 or 11 devices are going to be connected? The first thing is what we have talked much about it, called DM client. Okay, DM client stands for device management client. Okay, this is called device, okay, and this is called management. So DM is stands for device management client. This is already built in. Okay, it's already built in. This is already built in your Windows operating system. What it does, it uses a protocol which is called as OMA DM. Okay, OMA DM, and this is also going to use HTTPS. Okay, we just talked about it much on it. Now DM client or device management client is heart. Okay, if you know, I'll just, or let me do one thing here. Let me create a heart in the red form, so you guys always remember. Okay, just keep it in your mind. Keep it in your mind. This is the picture. Okay, why I'm doing all this, so you can easily remember what we are going to learn here. Okay, this Intune DM client is the heart of its core, its heart of Windows. Okay, what it does, it's native Windows operate. Native is what? Something that it comes with that product. Okay, so Microsoft Windows 10 or 11 component, this component DM client is already natively there. We don't need to install it on top of it, right? So every Windows 10 or 11, this is already there. What we need to do, we need to implement this using a protocol. That protocol is what called OMA DM. This OMA DM is what DM stands for device management. OMA stands for open. This is a protocol, Open Mobile Alliance. Okay, so this is what called Open Mobile Alliance. This is a protocol. So in industry standard, when we're talking about, so your MDM solution is going to communicate over HTTPS, okay, and it uses this OMA DM protocol to send any communication, send any policies to your Windows machines, right? This is really important. Whenever you are setting up anything from MDM, in any relationship with MDM, and you're trying to maintain something from Intune to those devices, DM client is the first thing which runs on the device. So when you're doing an enrollment, right, whenever you are running any enrollment for Windows devices, right, if you're enrolling any devices, DM client is the first thing which is going to run on that device. This service is going to run on that device, and it is going to download the client certificate. It is setting up the mutual authentication. It is doing all sort of recursive, check-in and everything, configuration profile, whatever you're going to set. DM client is the one which is going to flow that. So everything, whatever is going to pass, it is going to pass it through this DM client on Windows devices, right? And these Windows devices having this DM client, they have some schedule to check in, right? What is the cycle when these gets check in? So when you are doing the enrollment, as soon your computer or your device gets enrolled, DM client is the first thing which is going to run, right? Immediately after the enrollment, it starts running, and it checks in, checks out, it does all sort of trouble. If you are coming from SCCM background, then we have something called heartbeat in that, right? So that heartbeat from SCCM client, which is installed on the client machine, keeps on sending the data to the server where your SCCM console is installed. So SCCM console knows which client is healthy, which is not. So that's what DM client is going to send this data to Intune, stating that, okay, this client is checked in, and how is the health of this client, right? What is the cycle for this? 8 hours. Okay, 8 hours is the cycle. Every 8 hours it automatically runs and sends the information back to Intune. Okay, if you are going to manually sync, okay, you can go to your Intune, from there you can go to accounts, and from there you can choose access work and school. From there you can click on whatever tenant you are connected to, click on info, go straight right into bottom. You will see there is an option called sync. Okay, I'll show you that when we were doing the demonstration. Okay, so DM client is sending all sort of device status. So it is responsible for sending all sort of compliance. Okay, whatever compliance status is coming, it's going to come from here. Whatever hardware inventory, that is going to come from here. Okay, whatever installed application, if you are knowing whatever installed applications are there, that you can go from the discovered application, discovered apps, option. So whatever policy you're going to generate, whatever command you're going to send on this, it is going to route through this particular DM client. Okay, I'm not going to deep into the troubleshooting and all, because we're not going to do on this. I'm just giving you a heads up how this look like. Okay, now if you're going for any for example, if you're going for MD 102 exam also, this question will come. So they will ask, like, what is the role of DM client? So DM client is actually handling all built-in MDM policies type. Okay, if I say install apps, then we talked about something called Wi-Fi also, right? Wi-Fi also takes care about it. If you're having any VPN profile, that is also going to be taken care by this. So in general, DM client is responsible for everything, whatever you're going to have on your particular device. Okay, this was DM client. I think this is clear.
One question, Vaibhav.
Hmm.
So this 8 hour limit for DM client is for everything or for specific case?
For everything.
So suppose if anything changes in between, then how frequent it will sync or what will happen? Because 8 hours is a big duration. So suppose if a new policy came in or something changed, so how it will be handled? It will be pushed by the Intune to the client and then it will know, or is there any other mechanism?
Okay, so DM client, which is like device management client we talked about, is polling every 8 hours, right? By this is the default setting, right? What if you said like I'm performing something, I have some configuration profile which I sent, okay, I updated some compliance policy, I received it. So at that moment, what will happen? You can directly, either you can go to devices, all devices, select that particular device or send sync it, or from that particular Windows device also, as I said, like go to settings account and do access working school and select the connection and then go to info and sync it, right? It does not sync absolutely by default. Okay, you need to be there should be these polling intervals are designed by Microsoft for the Intune itself. Okay, this is default, but if you want to do something, if you're changing any policies immediately, I just wanted to change it. So there is one more thing which is I didn't talk about it, just want to talk on the next, which is called Windows Push Notification Service, which is called WNS. Okay, so WNS is going to notify that device, and that device is now allowed to check in or not. Okay, it will retrieve the policy as per the waiting time or the next schedule of polling. And this is why this policy deployment of, often when we are, setting it up, we within the minute or within, we just wait for full 8 hours and then we see like, okay, let's check it tomorrow or maybe just check it after some time. But there is one way also to do the sync using the PowerShell. Okay, if you're doing the automation, so from PowerShell also you can do the MDM sync locally for device, or you can also run a bulk sync from the script side from the Intune itself.
So this particular action, like suppose if a policy change is there, so the admin needs to initiate the trigger, or on every such changes, Intune senses it and triggers it automatically.
So usually what happen, admin can also do the sync. I mean, if you have bulk devices, you can use the bulk action. Using that, you can also do that bulk, synchronizations. Also, admins can also select particular devices and can do it. But usually we can do it from bulk sync as well. That option is there in Intune. Using that, you can select bulk action, because Intune usually known for the pull model. It is not known for the push model.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So whenever you are syncing some device, if it's like one device or two device, so simply you can do the sync directly from the console and it will work. But if it doing if admin is triggering it for all the devices, then synchronization is something needed. But usually it is not that fast that we expect a result out of it. What we do, we send that communication, your Windows DM client is going to wake up that device, okay, and then it will initiate over the HTTPS or TCP 443. It is going to connect with Intune services and get the relevant services using the pull model. Okay, so it's not something that is going to be pushed. Whatever is going, it's going to pull, fetch the data and then implement it. So end-to-end flow would be you as an admin, you went on Intune admin center, you created your policies, right? From it goes to cloud, it goes to the WNS, which is Windows Push Notification Services. Then this notification will be reaching out to device is going to wake up the DM client is going to connect over the HTTPS, fetching the data, downloading whatever the new policy, application or compliance setting, that whatever you have created, and then it will process that policies and then it will report back to Intune. Any other questions? Anyone else just wanted to ask anything? In your sense, like say if see, we have like more than 10,000 devices in normal production. If I'm saying I have a more than 10,000 devices here, I'm thinking all the devices are not receiving the data instantly. Why? So because there are multiple devices, so what I can do, I can go to devices, all devices, and select multiple devices and sync. Okay, that is the one thing. If it's something urgent, I need to wake up that using that Windows notification service, Windows push notification services. I just want to wake up the DM client and just wanted to initiate this, or I can directly go create a dynamic group for thousands of devices. Maybe I have 50,000 devices, so I can create a dynamic group. I can evaluate the membership. Then I can uh, trigger a sync for these devices when we are sure that deployment is going to gradual and we want this instantaneous, right? At that moment, what we can do a bulk sync. Okay, otherwise it's not needed, because it takes time, but it will automatically sync and update the policies itself by using the pull method. All right, so moving forward, now in giving you another. So this was the DM client which is responsible. Now let me clear it up. Let me. Okay. Okay. So now we are going to talk about one more important aspect of protocol, which is actually responsible here to facilitate the communication. Okay. Now this one we are going to talk about. You will hear a lot about this. It's called IME. Okay, this will be talking more. This is a short form it, and the full form of it: Intune Management Extensions. It's not S actually. Okay, extension. Okay, Intune Management Extension. So Intune Management Extension is a lightweight Windows agent. Okay, so whatever we were doing through DM client, right? As I said, like there are. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So what I was saying, for example, I mean, I said like DM client earlier, right? DM client is one of the agent which is installed on Windows. Now this IME is going to extend the work of DM client. Okay, this is also a lightweight, but this will extend DM client's capabilities, right? As I said, we are going to have decoration, right? So I think I'll draw this. So this is, maybe this is a hall, right? And here I have someone who's going to manage all the decoration, or who's own it, like he's owner, right? So he cannot do everything. What he will do, he will extend his support. He will extend someone who's going to manage end to end, right? So this person is your DM client, right? And this person is your IME, right? So whatever his capabilities is going to be extended here to this person, so he can take care of further more thing, right? So this is also the IME is a very lightweight Windows agent, which is going to take care about DM client's capabilities. Now DM client is already handling everything. Okay, I'm talking about primarily for MDM. This is going to manage everything, but it cannot execute the complex installers or PowerShell scripts. Okay, so DM client cannot do complex stuff, means installation of installing some executable, or if you're running any scripts, it cannot do it. That's where IME steps in. That is where IME step in, and IME is going to handle everything here. We were talking about any installation, if it's silent installation, if there is any Win32 application, if there is any PowerShell script which is going to be assigned on the device, this is going to run out that. Very much interview question: what account does IME use to run? Okay, IME uses Windows system account. Okay, this is an interview question, is very important. Note it down. IME, which system account does it, which account does it use to run? Okay, if you're going for interviews, they will ask, first they will ask what is IME. So IME is a lightweight. Okay, I'll mention here, it's a lightweight Windows agent. So they will ask you, okay, when we already have a DM client, why we require IME? Okay, so IME is responsible to extending the capabilities which is from DM client, and DM client is not capable enough to handle complex installers, right? It cannot manage the complex installations like application installation or scripts. So apps or script, it cannot manage. Okay, so that's why what we require here, IME. IME is going to take care of it. Now IME uses Windows system account, which is having a full system level permissions to install applications, modify registries, if it's executing any scripts or something. Okay, it just require that full system level permission. It does not require you as a user. Okay, it is not you as require as a user to be on that laptop. Okay, it does not require that as well. So it can automatically takes care of everything. It will communicate with Intune independently using that DM client. It is taking the schedule, whatever installation request is there, whatever configuration that you have done, it will take care of it and then it will install it, right? Now, what things should Intune management extension takes care of it? Okay, what type of installation? Whenever we talked about DM client cannot take care of, handle, or such complex stuff, then what IME is going to do, right? So IME is actually going to take care about the complex stuff. Okay, first thing is going to take care about your Windows 32 applications. Okay, that is the first thing is going to take care of it. Then it is going to take care about your PowerShell scripts. Okay, then it's also going to take about if you are doing any proactive remediation. Okay, if you're doing any proactive remediations also. So Win32 application is what? Win32 applications like whatever application that you have downloaded from from internet, right? What you did, you convert that to Intune Win. Okay, you converted that application into Intune Win. That is going to be taken care by IME, right? PowerShell script is something like if you have 64-bit PowerShell or 32-bit PowerShell and you just configuring something like you're enforcing a script to sign in, or if you're doing something for the login user, right? If user is logged in, so you just fetch the information whether the user is standard user or not, and all sort of different type of script that you can create. So that PowerShell script can be taken care by this IME. Okay, proactive remediation is what? So there are two scripts which is going to run, script 1, script 2. One is script which is going to detect, okay, which is going to detect and see what is happening, right, and then schedule it. Second one is going to report. Okay, so remediation script is what? One is going to detect what is the problem, what is the issue exists, and remediation script is going to fix that problem and then report. So don't get confused. Let me do one thing here. Let me fix it. First is going to do the detection of the issue. Second thing is going to remediate. Remediate means it is going to fix that problem, right? And then it will send you a schedule or report which will talk about like how the remediation works. So you can also go and monitor, like if you have run any script, you can go and check how the script is running. Okay, there is a question coming. When there are like 200 devices on which Windows 32 application is showing as failed, okay, what would be your troubleshooting step? Okay, first step would be, as a engineer, you are going to look at the IME log. Okay, see program data, Microsoft, as I said, Intune Management Extension logs. There you will get Intune Management Extension log. This log you're going to open, and you will need to search with that application, whatever application. For example, I said Zimperium. For example, this was the application. Okay, I'm just going to look at this application, or I have something called 7-zip, whatever application that you can call it. Okay, yes, go and check whether this in IME log, whether this particular application name is there or not. You just go and search it. Maybe you can also look at the exit code, if there is any exit code. For example, you have customized it like 1603 or 1903, whatever exit code you have, you can go and check with that. So that way it will tell you like whether that MSI or application had a failure. So what was the reason behind it? And if it's 200 devices, of course there is something problem with the package itself. It could be a package, or it could be a OS built which is not supported right in the environment. So these things you can check and confirm. Also, if you are setting up any detection rules, so that detection rule will also confirm. I had a problem earlier, like I was setting up one application, and that applications was it was requiring something, some .NET version that point of time, right? So that .NET version wasn't there, and it was detecting that .NET version, and it wasn't there, so it was failing, right? It failed multiple times. So this could be also problem. And with application packages, detection rule is quite necessary. I mean, whatever you have packaged, if you're using PSADT or whatever you are doing it, detection of if there is any requirement or if there is any dependency for any application, then that should be sufficed first before you go for the mass level and troubleshoot it. Okay, so this is IME. So first we talked about DM client, second we talked about IME. So these two are very important. Third we are going to talk about the third component, which is involving on your device. Let me clear this up so we can freely do this. Okay, next we have Windows Update for Business. Okay, Windows Update for Business is what? It's connected to cloud. It's a cloud, I would say cloud native Windows Update. Okay, so this is Windows Updates, right? So what it does here, on your Windows 10 or Windows 11 devices, unlike we had older WSUS, we were we need to select the application, we need to select the patches, then we need to look for the supersedence, then we need to approve, decline, and all those things. We need to do that, right? And there we require to have a Windows server as well. Now we don't need to do anything. So we don't need any WSUS at all. We don't need to do any extra effort on that. Windows Update for Business is directly going to connect to the devices, and these devices directly connecting to Microsoft Catalog servers, and using the Windows Update services, cloud services, going to leverage and fetch the Windows updates. Now if you have ring policies, right, if you have decided like I want to go with some ring ways, Windows Update, we already have a 6-hour session which we are going to talk in architect level. We will be doing all this practical. So in here, Windows Update for Business, this is one thing which just gonna talk about it, goes with the ring wise, right? How does this ring works? So for example, this is one ring, this is very small ring, right? Okay, this is for pilot users. Okay, this could be your IT people or something, like they have set it up. Next ring is going to talk more about those people who are the applications owner, maybe, who are going to take care of it. Next ring is something where we are going to do some more testing rigorously before putting it on on the production, right? And then final ring would be this, the biggest one. My ring is not fitting in. This one is ring, which is going to take care about your production one, right? So first ring is very for those small sort of I would say portion. So we have very small people who are going to look at things like this could be a pilot users, okay, or this could be your IT admins who are just giving their machines, or those people like from the security standpoint, they are giving you machines to check whether the patches are working fine or not, right or not, right? Next ring is what about your IT admin, okay? It could be your IT team, okay? They have given their machines. Next ring, which we are talking about more on the application app owners, maybe they have just wanted to check whether the application is compatible or not. And then later on later on we will have a ring which will talk about production. Also we can have one more ring. This would be something called GA, which is called general adapters. Or if you don't have general adapters, then we can directly have it on production. So ring means we are maintaining multiple steps or multiple what I say multiple channels through which we want to take care of that update. We don't want to directly impact in our production, we don't want to mess it up. So what we are doing, we have gradually defined certain levels. At that level, if that is, it is as good like as game, right? If you're good at game, so you might have heard like we have multiple gaming games, we have multiple levels, right? So you have one level, then if you have achieved, then you have more toughest level, then you have more toughest level, and then at last you have more toughest level, and like that. So this is where your Windows update is going to check if this if does not harm anything, if it's working fine, there is no driver conflict, nothing, applications are running fine, then it goes to more devices, right? Here it goes to more devices. If these all checks, then it goes here, it goes to more devices here. If all goes well, then it goes to bigger number, bigger chunk, you are going to set it up, right? If it all goes well, then you are going to set it for all devices, right? So this is how the ring analogy works, through which we have decided how we are going to test that Windows update and how we are going to update our Windows devices in our environment. So if you have 50,000 devices, of course in a one shot you don't want to ruin everything. However, if something like a expedited patch or something, then of course that could be a case where you want all the devices to patch at one go, right? Then here we have something called quality updates. Okay, I'm not going to talk more deep because we have 6 hour session for this. We'll be talking more about it. Feature updates, okay, and then we have something called driver updates. Okay, so quality updates, I think everyone is aware, every second Tuesday, right? I when I have been doing when I was doing interviews and all, I mean it's been 8 to 9 years, so I know like they have very good memory. They said like every second Tuesday Microsoft releases the patch. Okay, what is this patch, what is quality update, what is feature update, what is driver update? I mean they hardly tell what is quality updates, but everyone is aware that patch Tuesday is something where every 30 days Microsoft releases the patches on second Tuesday, right? So you need to know more about it. What is monthly security patches, what does it include, what is out of band patch, right? What is the deferral, how we can defer it, what would be the deadline enforcement? So all these things we can define it here in quality updates, right? Feature update is something where you're going to set features, you're just going to update the upgrade your machine. For example, 22H2, you want to upgrade this to 23H2, right? Etc. Whatever, just going to. So you're going to upgrade one feature. So you have a deferral period of 365 days. In 365 days, you can validate that feature. If that does not work or you don't like it, you can revert it to the previous Windows version upgrade, right? And then driver updates are something which are essentially for your hardware, for your firmware updates and all. So this will be done automatically, or you can manually approve those and you can do it. If there is any problematic drivers or something, then you can go and stop it. Now we have options to integrate vendors tool as well with our Intune console. So for example, if you have Lenovo or any other vendor who have their own driver console, so they can also push the we can also fetch the driver updates from there, and I can implement and put it. Then we have something called local admin password solution. That is what called short form is labs. Okay, so labs is something we are going to talk about it later, but labs is something we are going to touch upon it when we are doing the demonstration later on in architect section. For example, here just wanted to give you a heads up. Local admin password is something on each device there is one local admin account created. With that local admin account, we are securely putting some passwords, okay, which is randomized, which will be randomly generated password, and every device having their own different password set, right? So you cannot copy one password from one device to another password. For example, I have a password something called admin @ whatever I can put it 2024 or something like that, whatever password I have set. That password, it will not be like that password, okay? It will be something like @ and it will be have some dollar, then M, then exclamation mark, something like this, very complex that you can't even remember it easily. And these application or these labs policies are configured through configuration service provider, which is short form called CSPs. So these CSPs are taking care of, this is an intra feature, this labs is an intra feature. Using that intra feature, we are going to generate the password, we're going to get the password for the device. So this way we can safeguard our devices from being compromised from the attackers. Okay, so that is what called labs. Okay, then we have something called MDE sensor. Okay, let me clear it up. So labs is very short of it, like some people, some organization, they have it, some of not, but now I think everyone is started using it because they started understanding the benefit out of it. What is the benefit of it? Now we have something called MDM sensor. Okay, MDM sensor, I would say this is part of your Microsoft Defender for endpoint. So MDM sensor is what it does. It sends the services or Defender protection which is there, and it sends the response back to the platform. Okay, so if there is any device component which is behavioral, which is behaving fine, then the telemetry data, it is as good like if you have a car, right? And in car you have a dashboard, something like that, right? In dashboard you would see that, okay, there is all these options are there, right? So you have a speedometer, then you have different how your engine is performing, right? When you rave, when you escalate, accelerate on your pad, what I say, this is what brake, something like that. Okay, and this is your accelerator. So whenever you press on accelerator, so this it raves, it goes fastest here, it goes here, and then we have something here for oil control, we have something here for brake pad, something for air, so all these different, something for engine. So what if something goes wrong? Okay, something, your sensor says like, okay, there is some problem with the engine, or maybe you are driving in one gear only, particularly you're not changing the gear, so it will also say that maybe clutch pad is gone, something like that. So there is one one sensor which tells you that there's something wrong on this. Same thing is happening here with Microsoft Defender for endpoint sensor. This MDE sensor actually sensing how is your device is behaving, how your endpoint is behaving, right? If there is something wrong with the telemetry data, if there is something wrong with the backend, or somewhere your device is not in real time, if it is infected by any threat or any malware, something like that, if something attack has happened on the device, so it will directly sense that, and it will send the score back to Intune, and as per the compliance policy, if there is any risk condition goes ups and down, or your device is fallen under the high risk, it will suddenly become the non-compliant, and they will trigger conditional policies to block all other accesses on that device automatically. Okay, so this is really an option here. So if you are using security.microsoft.com, you can see all this hunting capabilities for Microsoft Defender portal. Okay, so we're not going to touch upon it because we are going to talk about endpoint security later. Then we have something called EPM agent. EPM agent is responsible for endpoint privilege management. EPM is responsible to give a certain user, like a standard user, to elevated user. Okay, this is, for example, I have a VLC application, right? I have a VLC application which I'm going to run as a standard user. Okay, so it will give me a UAC prompt, right? User access control prompt. It will ask me for username and password. So since I'm not admin, I will not get that option, and I won't be able to run that as an elevation rights, right? What I can do here, I can set in Intune, I can set this VLC application as a whitelist application. Okay, I can approve this application. Okay, I can approve in my system. Now this standard user is again going to run, so he will be prompted for a elevation prompt. Okay, in this elevation prompt, he is required to give some business justification, right? Business justification, and there is an option to click next and cancel. So once he gives the business justification, he gets an options to install it, and then as normal you are installing an application on your device, this endpoint privilege management gives you an option to install it. So by this way, local admin team can deny all elevation rights. For example, if all the applications which is there in or which is going to be downloaded by user, that will be having a blanket denial request. Okay, so they will not be allowed to install anything, so it will be deny all by default. So any application, if you're going to run as an admin or run as a elevated user, it will not allow you to do that. But for certain applications which are approved, like in our case VLC, that will be allowed, and user can easily go and install it. Okay, now this is we talked about elevation rights. Now we are going to talk about something called certificate, right? Where the certificate goes and installs, where it goes and sits, and how we ensures that how the certificates are working, right? So we have something called certificate authority. If you have talked about it, like in previous thing, we talked about certificate store. Let me clear it up so it will be easier to draw this. Now we have something called certificate store, or we can also call it as a policy manager. Okay, so this one, Windows certificate store, is something that is at the OS level. Okay, Windows certificate store. Windows certificate store is on the OS level. This is in the repository which safeguards your digital certificates. Okay, if I say on this particular device, if I just show you something, 1 second, cert util, I think cert mgr.msc. So you can see that there are multiple certificates which is there on this particular device. Okay, so if I say and I open it, and if I go to personal, right, I can see that there are multiple certificates which is there on this particular device, right? And if I go to trust root certificate, I can show you like there are multiple certificates which are installed, like global sign and all. So these certificates are getting installed where in OS level repository. How? By using Windows certificate store. So Windows certificate service infrastructure, this is there on the device itself. What Windows service store is going to do, it will check whether the certificate is coming from the trusted root certificate or not, and it will logically divide it into two parts. One is personal, one is your trusted root certification authority, right? So personal is something where your device and user identity certificates will be stored. And your trusted root certification, this is where your root certificate is going to install. If you have any root server or root certification authority, then it will be installed there. This is where we talk about the private key securities and all. This is where we can do and check. So certificates and all, we are not going to touch upon much on this, just giving you heads up. This is how it look like. Okay, so that is what Windows overall, this is overall framework of Windows, right? I am done with my class today. Tomorrow we are going to touch upon iOS, macOS, right, and iPad, and then we will be touching upon Android, and then this section will be completed. Now this is completely basic. We are talking about how Intune operates, what are the services which are involved, and how you should correlate when you're doing the troubleshooting, what sort of things you should keep in your mind. For example, if I'm doing any application deployment, so I'm not gonna troubleshoot DM client. I'm going to take care about what? ISE, right? Intune Management extension, IME. I'm going to talk about that rather than I'm going to troubleshoot something else. Okay. So any questions, any doubt? One more thing, yet I've given some homework. How is it? Has it been completed? Let me stop the sharing. Okay, yesterday we discussed some licensing term, right? So have you worked on that? Please unmute yourself, guys, or I'll do.
Yeah, we have checked fuse.
Okay, can we talk about it? See, homework is important. Why? Because this will give you some time to do some exercises, because I'm not giving you anything right now. I'm just I know I'm covering a lot, so that's why I'm thinking if something that you can contribute yourself in your improvement. As I said yesterday, like I'm going to gym and I see my gym trainer, he's doing all sort of weights lifting and everything, and I see his body and it's spectacular, but I will come back to home and I will assume, or I will think, I'll have a presumption in my mind that okay, one day I'll have my body like something him, right? It won't be until I do physical exercise and I do myself, I strain my stuff myself. So the exercises are as good, like it will give you understanding more about infrastructure, Intune, how does things work, what are the licenses. So you, whenever you are conversing with your client, you can suggest like, okay, you can use this particular license. He one day one of my client was asking like, I want to go with EPM, so I want to use EPM in my environment, so which license should I go? So it was upfrontly, I could not get, I didn't have that my laptop with me. So I said, okay, why are you waiting for it? You can directly go and opt it as an add-on, right? You can take it directly. And also we are coming with E7 licenses now. It's not E5, it's E7 now. So in E7 it's already included, so you can also take that one. So he straight away talked to his security team and he procured that license. So licensing are very important when you're working with organizations such a like it's very much important stuff that you should know on your upfront. Okay, if this is not done today, please do it tomorrow. Look at those licenses and let us discuss tomorrow, because these are very important aspects. Okay, for today's section, okay, what is the homework I should give you right now? Okay, for Windows we talked much about it, all these different clients and all, right? What we did not cover much, I think certification authority we already discussed, right? What I can think of, okay, labs we discussed, right? Labs is very straightforward, it's very easy. Just go and learn about labs. What is local admin password solution? Okay, when it was introduced, why it is there, what security features are there in natively that we can utilize it, how we can use it in now in our Intune environment, how we can do it. I don't want you to come with some technical trouble, technical specs and all. Just give me lightweight information. Okay, I don't want to get into more because I'll be teaching you all this, but just do a homework. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So
Sure.
we are good for the day, guys, and I hope the session was informative. You learned something new, and it was really informative. I hope you just go on through. I'll be sure that we will upload the recording shortly. So each day you're going to get the recording by the evening itself. I mean, yesterday we did it in 2 hours, so it takes time. But if it's there, just go and check it out, do revision, and then come refreshed in the next batch, in next session. Okay. Thank you for your time today, and sorry, apology for the delay because I was hooked up with something urgent and I could not, change my schedule for that. So tomorrow we'll be on the same time, 10 o'clock. Okay. So stay tuned. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Okay, I have a question here.
Yes, Amit.
Srinivas here.
Yes, Srinivas. Sorry.
So, for the SCCM, we install a client, right? The SCCM setup.exe. Is there a similar way that we do for Intune?
No.
So, how are these how do they get communicated?
We already talked about DM client and everything. We had a complete session on that.
So, DM client, how are they getting installed on the systems?
So, Srinivas, I
Is it
think
the default feature of operating system,
I think you need to
or
I think you need to revise this video. I'm gonna upload that shortly. I'll send it to backend team. They will do it. You just go it. DM client is already there on your Windows devices. We don't need to install anything. We already covered a lot. I think you are, somewhere stuck with something. I think you're not physically present. I mean, sorry, you're physically present, but mentally you are somewhere else, right? So just go through the video again, recording. Everything we have already discussed in this.
I got your point, Kumar, but my question is, how are these communications happening? So there should be some kind of agent that needs to be deployed, right? So
So OMA DM we
you
talked.
told it's already part of the. Yeah, DM. I know DM. You told that it sends and
OMA
receives all the
DM.
health policies.
We talked
OMA
about
DM. Yeah,
OMA,
it
which
receives
is
and
open mobile
it receives and
alliance. That's the
policies.
protocol.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
And for IME, it is the next level where whenever you deploy any apps and PowerShell scripts, all this
Right.
is managed through IME.
Let me give you a first answer. For Windows 10 or 11, we do not require anything for Intune client as we had for SCCM, as you said, right? We have MDM client, which is like DM client we talked about, right? That uses a protocol. That protocol is OMA DM. So OMA stands for Open Mobile Alliance, and this is a protocol DM, which is device management. Through this protocol, your device gets enrolled. So as soon your device gets enrolled, the DM client, starts talking to your Entra, talking to your autopilot, your Intune, everything, right? So first your device checks in, as soon your device is enrolled and checks in, then it downloads whatever the configuration policies and everything. So only OMA DM is the client, which is the protocol which is going to communicate back and forth. There is nothing that is we require independently on the devices. And IME is especially meant, as you said, like when you were doing SCCM, right? So in SCCM, we are using a management client, right? Using that management client,
Yes.
whatever script or whatever application or whatever policies we're going to push, management client is the only one who's going to talk to those devices and telling that this is what you need to do and this is what you need to request, right? So Intune runs on the poll model, and SCCM runs on the push model, right? So management client takes care all those responsibilities and deals with all Windows related stuff. Same goes with here. Now management point is replaced here with Intune management extension. Okay, that's it. Nothing else. So your
Okay,
SCCM, your SCCM requires dedicated a client, a tiny client, which will be installed on each device, through which, in contrast of managing those devices for Windows 10 or 11, SCCM requires that small tiny feature, that client. Now, Intune
Yes.
does not require anything. Intune already know that, since it's a built-in MDM client already on the devices, what it does, it leverages those devices as a protocol. It connects to that, and whatever those MDM clients which are already built in, they are responsible to communicate securely with Intune cloud services. So in advanced workload, if you are going more on deep for Windows application installation, PowerShell scripts, remediation and all, then we require Intune management extension to handle these tasks.
Okay.
All right.
So IME is mandatory when we do any deployments or anything.
It
right?
automatically gets installed.
for-
You don't need to do anything. As soon you push something from console, it automatically installs IME first, then anything else. So we are going to discuss everything in the demonstration. We'll talking more about the logs, event viewers, registry, everything we are going to talk in deep. Don't worry.
Okay.
I mean, the previous guys know how deep we goes in the troubleshooting and all, so all your doubts will be cleared. But for this class, I want you guys to revise every day whatever we are covering it up. By the end of the evening, whenever you're getting time, just go and do one revision, so that way you can coincide everything, whatever session we are going to cover, whatever topics we are going to cover, you will not forget it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm following you, Kumar. Just I had one question because I'm from the SCCM background, right?
I understand that.
was
SSM guys will have
yeah.
more doubts.
Yeah.
No problem. Go on.
Yeah, because that had an agent, but how is the communication happening here is what was my
So-
concern. Yeah,
so
because we're not
this
deploying anything
DM
for
client
anything.
is DM client is a Windows feature, and OMA DM is a protocol which leverages the DM client, and it facilitates the communication between Intune and device. And only these OMA DM is responsible to set up the communication. On top of that, if you want to go extensively on deployment, or you're sharing some workloads for application or something, then only IME is required. Otherwise, IME will not be needed.
Okay.
Okay.
So all this when we give the enter ID, right? Through the enter ID, all these devices get synced up to the Intune console.
Mhm.
And so the graph API is something like the management point what we used in SSM, right?
Graph API is something different. It is working as a middleman, which is going to help you as an Intune admin to connect from the console to access all those services. We require that Graph API.
Okay. So, but we are going to go in deep for graph API. So
We have a dedicated session for Graph API. Yes, of course. So, if you are doing any synchronization or something like that, so it goes to Graph API. When I'll teach Graph API, I'll talk about post query. How does post query work, right? How does it, post use query for example, you are doing a right click on the device and doing the sync. So it in background, it do a post query, right? So there is a Graph API which is actually responsible. If you go to graph.microsoft.com, this is where you see all sort of different keys. If you're doing synchronization of devices, if you're fetching any application details and all, and in your SCCM, right? If you're doing if you have worked on SQL queries, right? Select asterisk from, and then we
Yes.
have some system something, right? V underscore R and system and all that.
Mhm.
So this is same equivalent to your SCCM SQL queries, if you have right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
here it just goes into the Graph API, and in SCCM you're going to do the queries. This is how it's similar.
Okay. It is similar, something like a SQL database.
Absolutely. It's going to fetch. So whatever information you're going to fetch from the database, you need to post some query.
Mhm.
And that query, how you can write it up, you need to have a SQL console for that, right?
Right.
Likewise, we have a Graph API here. Whatever communication we're going to establish with any services, we require that Graph API console. So the Graph API working as a middleman. Vimla, you have any questions? I see your no. Okay, all good. You're in the office, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think I'm done for the day and really appreciate of your time, guys. And thank you so much. Please do come with these type of questions. I do appreciate. Make it interactive, make it knowledgeable. It should feel like we are, humans connected. We are not teaching to any AI or any robot. Okay. So thank you so much. Take care. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Venu.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.